Can you imagine watching your favorite team make moves so bold they either catapult them to glory or send them spiraling into basketball purgatory? Chicago Bulls fans, buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the most electrifying trade scenarios swirling around your beloved franchise right now. These aren't just rumors floating in the basketball ether. These are legitimate possibilities that could reshape the Bulls' destiny in ways that'll have you either celebrating in the streets or questioning everything you thought you knew about smart roster construction. The Anfernee Simons conundrum: genius or redundancy? Let's start with the deal that's got Bulls Twitter buzzing harder than a game-winning buzzer beater. Anfernee Simons, Portland's dynamic scoring guard, could land in Chicago through a three-team dance that would send Kevin Huerter and Julian Phillips packing, along with 2 second-round picks from Atlanta, while the Hawks snag Cam Johnson in return. Sports Illustrated floated this scenario, and initially it seems like Boston would laugh it off the table. But here's where it gets interesting. This move would catapult the Celtics fully under the luxury tax threshold, giving them financial flexibility they desperately need. Huerter proved his worth during his Bulls stint after the deadline, showing he can contribute meaningful minutes when given the opportunity. However, there's a massive elephant in the room that Bulls management needs to address before even considering this move. If you're bringing in Simons, a ball-dominant, offense-first guard, while keeping Coby White, you're essentially creating a backcourt logjam that could stunt everyone's development. Picture this rotation: Simons, White, Ayo, Dosunmu, Josh Giddey, and Trey Jones. That's an army of guards fighting for touches and minutes in a system that can only feature so many ball handlers effectively. The move only makes sense if it's the first domino in a larger restructuring plan. Simons brings superior athleticism and shot creation ability compared to White, but without shipping out existing talent, you're just adding complexity without solving fundamental issues. Patrick Williams. The untradeable contract dilemma. Nobody wants to hear this harsh truth. But Patrick Williams has transformed from promising prospect into salary cap albatross faster than you can say 4th overall pick. His 4-year, $72 million extension looks more catastrophic with each passing day, especially when you consider he's averaging single digits in scoring while providing mediocre defense at best. The proposed Milwaukee trade sending Williams for Kyle Kuzma represents damage control rather than improvement. Sure, you'd trim 2 years off your long-term commitments, but Kuzma's $42 million over the next 2 seasons isn't exactly bargain basement pricing for a player who's equally problematic in different ways. Kuzma's shot-heavy approach could severely hamper the development of promising young wings like Mattis Buzelis and Julian Phillips, players the Bulls desperately need to emerge as legitimate contributors. Sometimes the best trade is the one you don't make, and keeping Williams as an expensive bench piece might be preferable to adding another ball stopper who could derail your youth movement. The Zion Williamson blockbuster, championship swing, or catastrophic gamble. Here's where things get absolutely wild, and this trade proposal will either have you jumping out of your seat with excitement or reaching for the panic button. Imagine the Bulls sending Coby White, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, and that Portland first-rounder to New Orleans for Zion Williamson. This deal screams Jerry Reinsdorf's philosophy of acquiring marquee names that sell tickets, but it also represents the kind of high-risk, high-reward move that could define the franchise's next decade. When healthy, Zion remains one of the NBA's most unstoppable forces, a physical specimen who can bulldoze through defenses and create highlight reel moments that energize entire arenas. The timing makes sense from New Orleans' perspective too. They just drafted Yves Missy, and having 2 players who operate in similar offensive spaces could create spacing nightmares. Trading Zion would free up significant salary cap space while acquiring proven rotation players and draft assets. From Chicago's standpoint, this represents the ultimate boom or bust scenario. If Zion stays healthy and finds his groove alongside Josh Giddey's playmaking, you've potentially found your franchise cornerstone. If injuries continue plaguing him, you've mortgaged multiple solid contributors for an expensive bench warmer. Though even that scenario might result in a high lottery pick. The injury concerns are legitimate. Zion's conditioning and durability questions haven't disappeared. But sometimes championship windows require calculated risks, and acquiring a player of Zion's caliber rarely happens without significant investment. Coby White's market value. Trading at peak or waiting too long. Coby White finds himself in a fascinating position as trade deadline approaches. His breakout season established him as a legitimate NBA starter, but the Bulls might be repeating their historical pattern of holding assets 1 year too long before cashing in. The proposed Minnesota deal involving Dante DiVincenzo and Rob Dillingham for White represents intriguing value for both sides. The Timberwolves get a proven scorer who can immediately contribute to their championship aspirations, while Chicago acquires a promising young guard still on his rookie deal plus additional shooting depth. Dillingham showed tantalizing flashes during Summer League, displaying the kind of scoring creativity that could flourish in Chicago's developmental system. Pairing him with Giddey creates an intriguing backcourt foundation for the future, while DiVincenzo provides veteran leadership and reliable three-point shooting. The question becomes whether Minnesota values win-now contributions over long-term potential. They invested heavily in Dillingham by trading up to select him, giving up a future first-round pick in the process. Organizations typically don't abandon such investments after just one season, especially when the player showed promise in limited opportunities. The Jonathan Kuminga trap. Why Chicago must resist temptation. Sometimes the most important trades are the ones you avoid, and Jonathan Kuminga represents exactly that scenario for Chicago. Reports suggest the Bulls might have interest in the former Warriors lottery pick, but this pursuit would be organizational malpractice of the highest order. Kuminga's projected salary demands of $25 to $30 million annually would require significant salary matching, likely involving Coby White's $12.5 million contract. While Kuminga possesses tantalizing physical tools and developmental upside, adding him would create a logjam at the wing position that could stunt the growth of Buzelis and other young prospects. The Bulls need to prioritize player development over splashy acquisitions that look good on paper but create rotation complications. Buzelis, Phillips, and even second-year players need consistent minutes to reach their potential, and adding another young wing requiring significant investment doesn't align with smart roster construction. The bigger picture. Building for sustainable success, these trade scenarios reflect the crossroads facing Chicago's front office. Do they continue accumulating young talent and draft picks while embracing a longer rebuilding timeline? Or do they make aggressive moves to accelerate their competitive window? The Zion trade represents the latter approach, a franchise-altering gamble that could either establish Chicago as a playoff contender or set them back multiple years. The other deals fall into the asset management category, shuffling pieces without fundamentally changing the organization's trajectory. Smart teams identify their core philosophy and make decisions that align with long-term vision rather than reacting to short-term pressures. For Chicago, that means determining whether Josh Giddey and their young prospects represent a foundation worth building around or pieces to be traded for more established talent. The next few months will reveal which direction the Bulls choose, but these trade scenarios provide fascinating glimpses into the possibilities awaiting one of the NBA's most storied franchises. The trade deadline approaches faster than you think, and Chicago's decisions over the coming months could define the franchise for years to come. Which of these deals excites you most, and which ones would you run from faster than a fast break? Drop your thoughts in the comments and smash that like button, because Bulls fans deserve to have their voices heard in these crucial franchise-defining moments.